Welcome to Deploying Model on Hugging Face. Hi, I'm Vivin Arana and I'm going to walk you through this video. This video has only two slides, this one and the next one, which is this one. And then it's complete hands-on video where we will be only looking at how to deploy a model on Hugging Face. The steps that we will follow include: first, we will set up your environment. Next step, you'll train your model, which is optional because if you already have a model, you can directly jump to the third step, which is upload your model to Hugging Face Hub. And finally, we will use that model from the Hugging Face Hub. So let's get started. Step one is to set up your environment. So I already created a folder here called as Hugging Face, and all my project files will go inside here. I am going to open a terminal, jump into that desktop Hugging Face folder. Make sure I have take the entire space, why not, clear it out. And first thing that we need to do to set up the environment is create a virtual environment. So I'm going to create a virtual environment here. I'm going to call it -m v environment, and I'm going to call it my awesome model, which is where we will be creating the model. Once that is done, I'm going to say source my, or just copy this, paste it here, /bin/activate that particular environment, the virtual environment that we created. So let's clear it out and let's start with our next step, which is installing the required libraries. Now in this particular case, we need three different libraries that we need to install, which are, I'm going to go over them one at a time. First one is Transformers. It's not the movie, but Transformers is one of the most popular libraries developed by Hugging Face. This Transformers library is used for working with pre-trained models based on transformer architecture like BERT, GPT, T5, Roberta, etc. other ones. So that's the first one. Next one that we need is datasets. Now, the datasets library, also developed by Hugging Face, provides easy access to a vast collection of datasets for machine learning, particularly NLP. It supports efficient data loading, processing, and sharing. We will be using IMDB data for this particular project in one of the sample, so that's why I'm using this. And next one is Hugging Face underscore hub. This is, and I'm going to press enter here. The Hugging Face Hub library is a tool that lets you interact with the Hugging Face Hub, which is a platform for sharing models, datasets, and demos, such as those built with Gradio and Streamit. Uh, this library allows you to easily upload, download, and manage machine learning models and datasets on the Hugging Face platform. So that's all done right now here, and we have our all my three libraries available: Transformers, datasets, and Hugging Face Hub. The next step is to create an account on Hugging Face. So I'm going to open Chrome. So in this particular browser, I'm going to go to first huggingface.co. That's the official website. I'll go and sign up here. So you have to first do is give your email. I'm going to say .com and my password I'll set it. And once I'm done with that, it will ask me all this information. So go ahead and fill out the form, and I'm going to see you at the last. I'm going to just forward this to the last part. So now I've created the account. It shows me an option here, create a new model from the website. You can do hub documentation. You can look at programmatic access of using this particular thing. Here it's getting started with our get and get LFS interface. You can do all the steps, which we already did. We did this part. It says you already have it if you install transformers or datasets, and we already actually installed that specifically. Next step is it says you can do the login using the Hugging Face CLI, which means we need the Hugging Face CLI. Now this actually comes with Hugging Face Hub, so you don't have to install it again. But if you don't have it, if it doesn't work for you, so I'm going to probably go ahead and clear it out here. I can use this command and type it here. It's going to say enter your token. Now I need a token for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here to my account and I'm going to jump into settings. But before that, make sure that you have confirmed your email address. As it says here, I have not confirmed, so let me go ahead and confirm that. Now that I've confirmed my email, I'm going to refresh this page, and it goes away. So this is something else, to join an organization. My stuff here. I'm going to jump into access tokens here because that's what I need. It says you have no access token. I'm going to create a new access token. Now there's three different options here. Fine grained, where you can specifically select what access you want to give your user to do, or you can just have read access, or you can have write access. I'm going to do write access because we will be deploying models from our terminal to Hugging Face directly. So I'm going to name it my write token, create the token. I'm going to copy this and save it somewhere. I have copied that token, so I'm going to just go here and paste it and press enter. Add token as git credential. I'll say yes, and then it's completed. So my CLI is ready to do stuff directly from my command line directly to the Hugging Face website, where we'll be creating models and uploading it. So this kind of covers our step one, which is setting our environment. We made sure that all the libraries, we have created a virtual environment, we added all the libraries, and we made sure that we can log into Hugging Face directly from here. So I'm going to clear this out, and let's jump into step two now here. Step two is training your model. Now, if you already have a model in a particular folder here, you can jump to step three, which is uploading model to Hugging Face Hub. So what I'm going to do here is train my own model by creating it from scratch, or fine tune a pre-trained model. And let's see how to do it. So first of all, we need to select a data set. But first, let's me open Sublime Text and create a blank Hugging Face folder. In here, I will call it my awesome model.py. That's my file, but it's not actually the model. It is the place where I will be creating the model. So first, as I mentioned, choosing my data set. So I'll probably write that down. Choose data set. So for this part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Hugging Face datasets library, which provides many popular databases. And for this example, we'll use the IMDB dataset for sentiment classifications. So I'm going to say from datasets import load dataset, and to load the IMDB dataset, I am going to say dataset equal to load dataset and specify which one do I need, which is IMDB. So that's as simple as that. This loads your IMDB dataset, which has movie reviews and sentiment labels, positive or negative, in it. Next step in here is to tokenize the dataset. Now the transformer models cannot work directly with raw text. You need to tokenize the text using a tokenizer that aligns with your model. Example, either use BERT tokenizer for a BERT model. So that's what I'm going to do here. I am going to say from transformers import BERT tokenizer fast. That's the thing that I want to now. And next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to load the tokenizer for the BERT model. So for that, below here, I am going to say tokenizer equal to BERT tokenizer fast from a pre-trained model, and that pre-trained model that I'm using here is BERT base uncaged. So I'm going to say BERT base uncaged. Now this BERT base uncaged is actually available in here, and that's where I'm picking it from. If you see here, BERT base uncaged, this is the model that I'm using for its base. So that's what I'm doing here. Let's go back, and the next step that we have to do here is we need to tokenize the data set. Now to do that, so I selected the model here, I am going to say define tokenize underscore function. That's the function, and it will say pass some examples, and this will return back tokenizer examples text, whatever text is in there. And then I'm going to say truncation equal to true, the next parameter, which ensures that input sequences longer than the max length are truncated. So To do that, I'm going to say truncation equal to true. Next thing is padding. Now padding, which I am going to set, let's say padding equal to, I'm going to set it to max length, score length, which pads the sequences to specified max length, which is 128 in our case. Next parameter that it needs is max length, which as I mentioned is 128 in our case. So you can change that if you want to. So once we have tokenized the data set, next thing that we need to do is apply the tokenization to the data set. So to do that, I am going to say, go back here, I'm going to say tokenized data sets equal to, I'll take my data set and then say map and call the tokenize function here, and I'll say batched equal to true. So it does in batches if the data is too big. So this kind of uh, covers our tokenization of the data set. So I'm going to specify, I have kind of written it everywhere because this is the first input and this is the tokenization. So the next step that we will be doing here is preparing the data set for training. Now first I have to remove any unnecessary columns from the data set and set it up for the model training. So I'm going to say tokenized data sets equal to, I'm going to call the tokenized data sets and I'll say remove columns, the ones that have text in them, the text column. You can always look at the data set and see what you want to remove. So next thing I want to rename, actually not remove in this case, removing, I have already done it. Next thing is renaming a column where we have a label column. I want to rename it to labels. There you go. So I've removed, I've renamed, so I've cleaned some of the stuff. Next thing that I want to do is tokenize datasets dot set for, the function is set format, and here I am going to say torch. So this is where I'm setting the dataset format to PyTorch tensors. That's what this does, this last line number 16. First, we removed the text column since we now have tokenized input, so we don't need that. Next, what I'm doing is I'm renaming the label column to labels, the format the model expects, and I'm setting the dataset format to PyTorch tensors in this particular case here. Now the next step is to load the pre-trained model. So what I'm going to do for that is from transformers itself, I am going to take BERT for sequence classification. From this library, what I'm going to take is, what I'm trying to do here is we're trying to fine tune a pre-trained BERT model, which is the BERT case and BERT base uncaged for sequence classification. So next to this, I'm going to say model. So I'm loading the pre-trained BERT model for sequence classification. I'm going to say here BERT for sequence classification from pre-trained. Use the same thing. And then here I'm going to say number of labels equal to 2. So the reason I'm saying number, the load, this what it does is this loads the BERT model and configured to classify sequences into 2 categories, which is in our case, since we're doing sentiment analysis, it's positive and negative. So that's what I am doing here. Now once that is done, we have to define the training arguments. So from transformers itself, there's another one that I need, which is training arguments. Now if you're not familiar with whatever I'm doing here, I have another video on PyTorch and TensorFlow. You guys can go through that to understand in detail what I'm doing here, but I'm just going to run through this steps and try to explain as much as possible. So here what I'm trying to do is I'm defining the training arguments. So I'm going to say training underscore arguments equal to training arguments, and inside here I have a bunch of parameters that I'll give. The first one being the output directory, which is output underscore directory. So where do I want the output of this particular training? So that is slash results. That's where I want it. That's the folder that I want. I'm going to move this outside. This is the directory to save the model checkpoints. Next thing that I need is the evaluation strategy. This is it will evaluate after each epoch. So this is called as evaluation underscore strategy, and as I mentioned, it will be done for each epoch. So I'll specify that. I'm going to move this a little bit above so it's clear and in the center of the screen. Next thing that I want in here is the learning rate. So for that I am going to select a learning rate of 2 exponential minus 5. That's what I'll set which is the learning rate, and then I'll say batch sizing for training, which is per device train underscore batch size equal to 16. That's what I'll specify. And next is batch size for evaluation. I'm going to say per device eval batch size, and I will set that to 16. And then I will set the number of train epochs, which is number of train epochs equal to, I'll set it to 3 for this example, and then weight decay I will set to 0.01. So this is the weight decay to prevent like overfitting in our case. So that's what I'll use. The next thing that I need to do is I have to initialize the trainer. The Hugging Face trainer is a high level abstraction that simplifies training transformer models. For that I will need to go here and say I need trainer. Come back here, now initialize my trainer. I say trainer equal to trainer, specify the model here to the model that I've created, arguments equal to training argument that I've created. Next thing that it needs is the training data set and evaluation data set. So I'm going to say train data set equal to tokenized data sets, and from there I'll say give me the training data set, and for evaluation data set I will say, or you can call it even testing data set, which is test. So this is my training and my testing data set that I've passed to the trainer. Now next step is use this trainer to train. So the way you start the training is trainer dot train, and then finally once your model is trained, I want to save it somewhere. So I am going to say model dot save pre-trained. So this pre-trained model, I want to save it in a folder. I'm going to create a folder called as my awesome trained, or I'll say my awe model. And same thing I have to do for tokenizer. Tokenizer dot save pre-trained into this particular stuff. So I'll save it. Now the model is trained and saved locally in this particular folder. You can upload it to, and then once it's done, we can upload it to the Hugging Face and use it in any application. So let's do that. Let's run it. So it's here. So I'm going to go to my project. Let me see if it's in the right place. Yes, this is the, I'm going to say, let's clear it out. Python my dot py. So after I run this, it will take some time. So take your time and then come back once it's completed. So it takes a little bit time, but once it's done, you'll probably go ahead inside your folder and you'll see the results folder here. You'll also see the awe model which is created, which is right available here. So now that our model is ready, we can go to our step 3, which is upload the model to Hugging Face Hub. To do that, first let's create a new file. I'm going to save this as hug.py, And in here, we'll initially start with importing some of the Hugging Face libraries. So I'm going to say Hugging Face underscore hub. I'll use that library that I installed, and from that I'll install HF API. You'll see where I use it, and HF folder. Now, first to initialize the Hugging Face API, I'm going to use that HF API. So I'm going to say HF API and call that function. Next, you need to get your token, which we have saved when we added to our CLI. So you can just say HF folder dot get token. So that will get our token that we saved in the first step when we set up our environment. Next thing is you can directly give your token here in string as a string. So that is another option. Next thing is let's create a repository. So I'm going to create a repository. Now if you go to Hugging Face here, you'll probably see inside my profile I don't have any models over there. So I'm going to create a repo ID. I'm going to call it whatever my username is, Mr. Vivian Arana, and slash, let's call it all model. Just use it as a single word. Next thing I want to create, so this is my repository ID. Now I'll create a new repository by calling api dot create repo. I pass the repo ID as repo ID that I've created as the first parameter, and next one I'll pass the token, which is my token that I got from my CLI. This will create my repository. So if I run this, it will create a repository, and you'll see there. What I want to do is I want to take the model, which I can fetch by calling, let's get that those libraries. They are inside transformers, and they are called from that. I'm gonna get auto model for sequence classification, and I'll also need auto tokenizer. So I'm gonna get that too. Tokenizer. I'm gonna go here and say auto model for sequence classification from pre-trained, and that is available in this same folder, and that's called my O model. So I'm gonna use that. Say this is the folder where the model exists. Next I'll say tokenizer equal to auto tokenizer from pre-trained, and I will do the same thing. So I'll have both of these guys, and once I'm done that, I can just say model dot push to hub. That is the function to push this particular repo. Which repo it is? I mean, where should I push the model? And then also tokenizer, I'm going to say push to hub and pass the repo ID. So that's these are the steps to kind of push your model to the Hugging Face hub. Let's run them. I'm going to clear this out, and the name of the file is, let's see, we have that. Let's clear it out. Python hug.py, and as you can see, it starts getting those models and then pushing them to our repo. It's going to take some time, so let's come back to it once it's completed. As we can see here, it took a little bit time. It took like 10 minutes or so, but my entire thing is complete. It's 100% done. So now I can go back to my and refresh my Hugging Face, and you'll see my model is available here. It also added a readme file which has options to edit, so you can edit this based on however you want it. And if you want to use this model, it will tell you how to use this model, and you can go to the settings here, and it says that this model is currently public, and you can make it private if you want to. If you don't want anybody else to see it. So that's how you can upload your model. So what we've done in this particular section is, first we created the model. Before that, we even set the environment, created the model, and then I showed you how to upload that to Hugging Face. Now the final step is, what if you want to use a particular model? It's just like using any other Hugging Face model from the environment. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to create another Python file here. I'm going to say use model.py. I'm going to call it that. And the steps for this is, so first step is, from transformers import auto. So it's the same thing here. So I'm going to take that auto model, and the next one is use the same auto tokenizer, these two. And from here, if I want to get the model again, this time take this, and I'll say, but in this case, from pre-trained, I am going to give the name of my model, which is, you can get from here, which is my model. And there you go. This will kind of pull from Hugging Face and let me use the model and run whatever I want to run on this, which is positive and negative sentiment analysis. So I can run that from here. So this is how you can use your model that you have uploaded to Hugging Face. Also, any other models that you want to use, if they are available publicly, you can do it in this particular way. So that kind of wraps up our video, where we saw how to set up the environment, how we trained our model and uploaded it to Hugging Face, and how to use that model if you want to use it from Hugging Face. So if you have any questions or had any issues, let me know in the comments and I can help you out.